Hopefully, all of us can hear me. All right, thank you. Thanks for being here. My name is Sriram. I'm a product manager on the Google sign-in security team, along with Christian, who is not here this week. And my teams and our teams basically manage the login policies, the recovery policies, things like MFA, what we call two-step verification. And the most exciting thing we've been working on over the last 18, 20 months is supporting Passkeys to sign into Google accounts. So Google wears many hats in the Passkeys ecosystem. So here we're talking about Google's role as a relying party. And we basically just recently completed 1 year of support for Passkeys as a relying party. So we wanted to share some of our learnings and hopefully some, what you can take away from this for your own implementations. All right, so before we do that, I just wanted to sort of, for those who are not very familiar, wanted to sort of go back in time to where we think it all started. In the winter of 2009, Google and a number of large US-based companies were compromised in a big way by state-sponsored attackers. And this was a seminal moment for us as a company, and also we like to think as an industry. It changed the way we do business in some parts of the world, but also it kickstarted a lot of R&D. We wanted to look at what made these things possible and how do we make sure it doesn't happen again. And Operation Aurora, it basically started with a phishing link. Protecting sign-in became a very important pillar of all of our activities since then, and leading to what probably is still the largest zero trust or beyond corp implementation in the world today. And at the center of that is a secure identity. So we realized that particular user got phished. But passwords, as you've probably heard repeatedly already, can be compromised in a number of other ways. And we wanted to sort of make sure that whatever solution we come up with can address all of these things to the extent possible. And we work with many people, some of you in the audience and some of elsewhere in the conference, on the universal second factor, which is the first second factor to be designed to be resistant to phishing. And not just phishing, but this second factor, no matter how your password is compromised, this security key based on strong cryptography will save your ass. It's basically it was a strong thing and it works. Just a few years later, we actually went public saying that security keys, since deployment at Google, they have not been successfully phished by anyone. So that was a big public statement we made in 2018. So the technology is there, as many of us know here. So, but then you don't find people on the streets carrying security keys. So it remains a niche product, and not really useful, for the 3 billion or Android users and the billions of users online. And that's where really, that's the problem we had to solve. And thankfully for us, in parallel, while all of this was going on, these two gentlemen in black shirts, they came up with a huge mobile wave. One of them you would recognize straight away as the founder of the largest operating system in the world for mobile, and the other one is, of course, Steve Jobs. But together, what they did is they put very powerful computing devices in the hands of everybody. You walk around, anywhere in any street, anywhere in the world, and you will find one of these operating system, one of these devices in people's hands. And thanks to their success, they're also becoming more. They're also already more powerful. These devices have hardware capabilities that even the most sophisticated security keys had. Right. So that is the opportunity, and this became the opportunity for us as an industry to figure out how do we bring these secure promises, the security promise of security keys, which we know works, into the hands of everybody so that it can be usable by the masses, and that's what Passkeys are. So I'm skipping a few steps here in the interest of time, but you get the gentle drift here, right? So fast forward 10 years, by the time Passkeys started becoming generally adopted even among security conscious segments, it's already been 10 years, but do we still need them? Has anything changed in 10 years or 15 years? The answer is, things have only gotten worse. This is actually from 2019. Phishing, sites have just grown exponentially. It's becoming very easy. There were phishing kits and so on. So phishing remains a problem. More recently, cookie theft and some of these other things have become slightly a bigger problem than what is shown here. But then that balance keeps changing. The attackers will go for whatever is the easier thing to do. But we want to really invest in Passkeys as a way to solve the credential theft problem, and that's why we launched Passkeys support in Google accounts last year. So this is Sundar's tweet in May 2023 announcing the support for Passkeys for Google accounts. Now, so that is a quick sort of summary of a journey in some sense from 2009 till to 2023. So what's happened since then in the last 12 months, and what can we share with all of you? So the first thing is Passkeys are all about simplicity. The reason normal users will use anything is simplicity. Simplicity always trumps security. And one of the main reasons we've heard repeatedly why users don't use 2SV is because it is high friction. Even people who know what it is, they don't want to use it because of the friction. And spoiler alert, Passkeys, we have evidence now that Passkeys are found by normal users to be simpler to use. So leaning in on fundamentally from a design, usability, design and UX in the product, leaning in on simplicity was a main goal for us as a Passkeys standards ecosystem, as well as a relying party implementing the standard for our own users. Not just in the UX, but also we've done a lot of research about messaging, both in product and outside the product. We tried to do a lot of focus groups before we launched the product, and also we've had a chance now in the last year to do A/B testing at scale to test various kinds of messaging. What is resoundingly one is the messaging about simplicity and convenience and fast sign-in. You may think that users might also care about the security of their, is a value prop that resonates with users, security of the data, but it does not do as well as the simplicity and faster sign-in. Probably because they just take it for granted. They expect the service providers to keep their data secure. And definitely what did not do well is leaning in on the term Passkeys itself. It just does not have the level of recall at this time. Right, so we've always led with simplicity as a primary value prop, and then slowly and gently introduce Passkeys because they are going to encounter this elsewhere on the internet. So talking about security, another important design decision we made early on, because it's such a big change for everyday users, is that Passkeys are an option. We don't want to take away anything from the user's accounts. So this reassurance is very important. So that people don't have to worry about, hey, am I burning some bridges when I adopt Passkeys? So we made sure that Passkeys are an extra option. They can completely turn it off in their settings, as well as in every flow they will be able to pick another option. We have a prominent link, so try another way. So if they don't like the Passkey flow in that particular time, they can always go back to whatever they were using before. But as security nerds, what this means for us is the attacker is always going to pick the weakest link. So where is the security benefit coming from? So we're not very worried about it at the moment because of the secure foundations of Passkeys in the FIDO phishing resistant protocol, and we have seen it work at scale in our own deployments before. But also we have some ideas on how we can sort of do some additional risk analysis on top of if a user is consistently using Passkeys and at one particular time they're not using Passkeys, we can take some extra risk-based analysis, risk-based decisions at that time. So we have some of these options at the back of our head, which we will do later on. If any of you are interested in those ideas, happy to chat with you after this talk. So the focus for now is all about convenience. All right, creating Passkeys. So this is some of the most important journeys, because Android is basically our platform. When a user signs into Android on any Android phone or tablet, we are able to provision a passkey automatically for them. So there is no creation moment on Android. On other platforms, we have to put the user through a specific creation flow. And here again, we have tried many things. We have tried sort of educational messages even on google.com, the search page, on other Google services and so on. But what we found the most sticky and the most successful moment for this is immediately after the sign-in. So convincing the user that, hey, would you like to sign in to be easier than what you just went through? And this has the biggest ROI, if you will. And this is a specific flow on iOS. But fundamentally, it's about leading with the simplicity message and introducing passkeys after the fact. So we're just still familiarizing the user with that term. So across platforms, this is now fully live in some sense across all platforms: iOS, Windows, macOS, the three biggest platforms apart from Android. And this, when a user is given a prompt of this kind, this is basically what we call a post sign-in speed bump. The user is accepting in aggregate about 50 to 60% of the time and continuing to engage. It doesn't mean they're successful every time for different reasons, and they may escape or cancel at a later time in the flow. But this screen itself is showing a lot of success. Okay. The author creation moment was very interesting. So that is mostly targeted at normal everyday users. But we also have we have been supporting security keys for 8 to 10 years. And the segment of users who adopted security keys earlier on were also a very interesting learning experience for us as far as passkeys were concerned. So till 2023 May of 2023, we only supported FIDO1, which basically means no matter how capable your specific key is, even if it's capable of FIDO2, it will be registered only as a second factor. And then the user, when they go to their settings page, this is what they would see. And all of them look like security keys. But when we started supporting passkeys, we changed this user experience by merging the passkeys and security keys into one experience. And this, we expected the security-savvy security key early adopters to sort of get on with the passkeys agenda in some sense. It turned out to be a little too optimistic. What we learned is even the security-savvy users did not understand what passkeys have to do with security keys, and they said, you are increasing the number of steps that I have to go through to add a security key. Why do I have to set up a PIN now when I did not have to do it earlier on? I still like my password, even a user who was using a security key. So I think it's a big learning experience for us that even the sort of the early adopter security savvy users need to be managed through this change. And we have not completely reconciled all of the feedback that we have got into the user experience. We're still working through this. But if you have security key users, it's something that that we have to think about as an ecosystem. That a passkey is a FIDO2 credential, and a security key is a container of FIDO credentials. And that mental model, resetting that, I think all of us have a lot of work to do, and we're thinking through our user journeys here as well. All right, so moving to passkeys. So when we launched passkeys in last year, we made it opt-in. What that means is that a user had to go find the passkey settings in their account security pages and then enable or opt-in. So we expected that to be a self-selected savvy user group, and they know what a passkey is. So with that assumption, we started offering the hybrid flow, the QR code flow, whenever they used to sign in on a let's say on a Windows laptop where there's no local passkey. Turned out it's not a great decision. I mean, the users were not having success. Even this security savvy cohort who went and manually opted in just recently, they were not succeeding with this hybrid flow. So what we immediately did very quickly, actually, the numbers were so bad that we immediately switched to some kind of intelligent heuristics. Where we said, okay, do we have high confidence that this user has a passkey on the local device? If we don't have high confidence, we would just offer them a password prompt, along with a try another way. The try another way was a sort of a linchpin of switching back between challenges in the passkeys flows. And if the user really knows how to use the QR code, they would click on try another way, then pick a passkey, and then they would succeed. And then if we have high confidence that there is a local passkey, we would straight away we would trigger the WebAuthn prompt. This completely changed it. Now the hybrid flow success rate and the local flow success rate basically became the same thing, and that was a big thing. So we did this in Q3 of last year, and then it's been that way since then. But still, it's based on heuristics, and we do get heuristics wrong. We get confidence based on local passkey availability, based on whether these users created a cookie, so on and so forth. That can obviously not work right. It could be they may clear cookies, they may come in another profile on Chrome or on the browser. It could be and so on and so forth. So the long-term solution is what we know as conditional UI. or Passkeys autofill, as we're trying to call it for our users. So this is actually on the username page. We have started rolling it out. It's a very, very small percentage. If you see it in production, consider yourself lucky and go to the casino tonight, right? It's at a very, very low percentage, but we're taking it very slowly because this is a page where hundreds of millions of users come in to sign in every day for their Google services. So we do expect to ramp it up slowly based on guardrails. But the metrics we have so far is the conditional UI for a user who doesn't have a passkey, who doesn't know what it is, they are not being prevented from continuing with their work. So that is the main guardrail. We don't want to get in the way of user completing whatever they came here to do, and that's looking good so far. All right, how much time do we have? Oh, we're running out of time. Okay, so measuring success quickly. The metrics are looking good so far for such a nascent technology. From the very beginning, we've been sending surveys to users who have engaged with Passkeys successfully or unsuccessfully, and all of them so together in aggregate, they say that 65% of users, they find Passkeys simpler to use. This is regular everyday users. It's a very, very good sign. And an equivalent person are saying that they find it more secure. The kicker here is another 25% are actually on the fence. Either they don't think they understand what to make of this Passkeys thing. So that's a good so only less than 10% actually think it's harder to use. I think compared to where security keys and dongles were 5-7 years ago, well, this is like extremely promising. And the other thing we're finding is although people find inconsistencies across platforms, users are finding some commonalities in the experience across the internet on how Passkeys are presented. So that is, again, is a promising thing for Passkeys, and how relying parties are approaching this. And finally, I wanted to share some data for the first time. Success rates, comparing how successful users are with a passkey relative to password. If you just compare those two across platforms, we see a lot of variation. And we believe our best hypothesis based on our analysis is that this has to do with are people using password manager already or not? Probably on Apple ecosystems, accessing Google, they're already using password autofill, and then the autofill experience itself is not very off. But they are able to complete it faster, which I don't have it on the slide. But even if they're using the password manager, doing a Face ID or a biometric is much faster than filling out the password. And this shows sort of roughly our trajectory so far. We have recently crossed 1 billion successful authentications with Passkeys in various contexts, and we're still ramping it up. And that is across about 400 million unique accounts till date. So in summary, so the numbers are looking good for such a nascent technology, but a lot of work ahead, and some transferable learnings that we can share with all of you. Lean in on the local experience. It's working well. People finding success, and be thoughtful about where you introduce hybrid. There's a lot of work we have to do as an ecosystem to improve outcomes for that flow. Lead with the value process simpler and faster, but also don't shy away from talking about using the word passkey in your documentation and in subtexts and things like that, because we need people to stop thinking about passwords and as something else as a way to access their accounts. And lastly, position Passkeys as an additional option. We don't want users to sort of fear the unknown or avoid it because they don't want to let go of something they like, right? So that gives us about 5 minutes for questions. Happy to also talk to you after this. Yeah.
Thank you. So one of your slides said that Android and Windows users are more successful with passkey, but can you just briefly explain what's the reason for the iOS users?
Yeah, so we think this is just compared to somebody's given a password challenge, how many of them succeed relative to somebody's shown a passkey challenge and how many of them succeed. So on iOS, we think the reason is because iOS and macOS, it's because they're already using iCloud keychain to autofill their passwords. Yeah, so that's why it's roughly comparable. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so thanks for the details. I think the point that you mentioned about like show QR code experience only when you have high confidence that the user has passkey on the local device. What are some of the techniques that you used in that?
Yeah, so there are a number of heuristics that we used, but I think what I would like to sort of emphasize here is that we are also moving towards conditional UI, because heuristics you cannot get it 100% right. So we did some things based on the infrastructure that we had, but what I would recommend is heuristics is not the right way to go going forward. If we had to start today and we could do it, I would just do conditional UI on day 0. If we had that, we didn't do that for a number of other reasons, but we'll take a question from the side.
Yes, is biometrics the only way to create passkeys, or is there any other ways?
So could you repeat the question?
Is biometrics the only way to create passkeys?
No, so the passkeys is used by unlocking the device that is there on that has the passkey. So you could use a PIN, you could use a passcode, you could use a biometric, whatever you use to unlock that particular device. So on Windows, you can set up a 4-digit PIN to unlock that Windows device, and you could use that to use your passkey. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Hi, on your timeline, I saw that things are going to be shifting more towards security in 2026 and beyond. Do you foresee Google moving to use passkeys as a full password replacement during that time?
Yes, I think we will definitely give users an option. I think what we can expect is if people stop using password over the long term, they will forget the password anyway. So I think we don't see a way for us to force users to stop using passwords. That is not on the agenda as far as in the short or medium term, or even in the longer term. But giving users option is definitely on the roadmap. Yeah.
We have one more over here.
Yep.
Yes. So what about syncing across devices?
Sorry, where is the question? Oh, okay. Hi.
Yeah, what about syncing across devices? People normally change a lot of smartphones and other devices, etc. How has that experience been?
So passkeys, the standard allows for syncing. So if you use a password manager that supports passkeys, for example, it could be a third-party password manager like 1Password or Dashlane. It could be iCloud Keychain. It could be so if you store the passkeys on one of those passkeys providers, then that will allow you to sync. When you get a new device, you first sign into that password manager, and they will get the passkeys. So, for example, Apple ID, if you get an iPhone, you sign in with Apple ID, your Google passkey will be stored on that Apple ID's keychain, and then we would, when you get a new iPhone and sign in on the same Apple ID, Apple will make sure that you get the passkey on that phone.
We have time for one more question.
One more question. Yeah.
No, we have one right here. Hi.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Okay.
How do you see the future working when it comes to passkeys and users who require assistance, for example, aging parents, and we're maybe not right next to them to help them sign in?
I think, it's we expect the passkeys to help everyday users like that, because that demographic and in general normal users always have difficulty, even savvy users have difficulty remembering passwords. Right, and so by relying on device unlock capabilities, because they are using their phones every day, if that is the demographic we're talking about, they know how to unlock the phone, and being able to unlock, their phone to access services is a natural pattern that we have seen succeed. So I think absolutely for those segments also we expect passkeys to actually help them compared to the technologies we have today.
All right, thank you very much for that excellent session and for the great engagement. Before you leave, please take some time to go into the app and fill out the session surveys. Your feedback is really important to us.